Hey everyone, it's Lucas Schwekendijk, and today I want to talk to you a bit about finding the good things. How do I start this? There's a lot of things that go into this. First of all, let me put it this way. A lot of people love to find the negatives in things. They love to find problems, they love to look for bad things, for reasons why they can't do something rather than why they can, and just overall love to basically look for misery in life. And nowadays, or rather with the news in general, this has been happening for a long time, this can be done very easily. War, famine, sexism, racism, global warming, extinctions, animal cruelty, human cruelty, kidnapping, sexual trafficking. There's a lot. There's a lot of reasons and a lot of things that are bad in this world. And there's a lot of things that will be bad in your life as well. Taxes, work, maybe your relationship, maybe the fact that your flowers die. So many different things can also be bad. But there's also just as many, if not more, reasons why the world is amazing and why your life is great. And I don't want to talk to you about gratitude or appreciating what you have or anything of that. I want to talk to you more about the science behind why this is so important. Basically, think about it this way. When you look for something negative, you're training your eye to discern for that. You're sending signals into your mind, and this has been partially psychologically tested and supported, is that what we look for, we find in the world. And that when we prime our brain to look for certain things, it will show up with more of those things, while not making the other things that we see conscious. That's not that they don't exist. The positives still do exist when you look for the negatives. You just don't see them. And there's a great practice with this that I want to do with you right now before I go into explaining this more. And that's, I want you to take a minute to look around the room. Just to look around your room, not my room. Look around your room and look for everything that is red. Okay? What's all red? And then I want you to come back. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to count and name, with your eyes closed, the things that were blue. How many do you remember? And how many do you remember from looking, not from just because you know your room so well? How many things were blue? Okay, now come back, open your eyes, and I want you to look around again and see what was blue. You're probably noticing that there's a lot more things that were blue. But what's most interesting as well is that you probably also had some purples in there, or some burgundies, magentas, whatever, some things that weren't quite blue or weren't quite red, that you labeled as red one time, and then it's blue the other time. Now if we say purples are the neutrals, reds are the negative things, and blue are the good things, when you were looking for red, you noticed a lot, and the blue things suddenly disappeared out of the forefront of your mind. That doesn't mean they weren't there. You just didn't pay attention to them, so you didn't see them. The purples, however, were for both. Those are the neutral things that we make better or worse depending on what we want to see in the world. And that's the way you treat your life, and that's the things that you're practicing. That's the thing you've tested so far. And the thing is that you got really good at seeing the world as a really horrible place. Again, that doesn't also mean that it is a great place, right? Because if we keep looking for the blues, there's still some reds. But the point is that you've gotten so trained on this that all of these neutrals, all of these things that could be good or bad, that don't really have a say, that don't make a difference depending on how you view them, if you still view them as negative, your life is going to get worse. The person that views everything as horrible, that sees all the problems in the world all the time, will feel awful, even if they do a lot, because they won't be able to do everything. None of us can change the world on our own. Not the entire world, not solve every problem. We can't solve a lot. We can do quite a bit, but not everything. And if you're painfully aware of what's wrong with the world, so much so that you see the problems everywhere you look, people are miserable, people are unhappy, this starvation, famine, war, whatever, you're going to lead a pretty bad life. Now, when I talk about this, for example, when I write about this on Quora or write on the Medium, I get a lot of people that say, but we shouldn't ignore it. You're right. You shouldn't. You should still fight for some things. But only for some things. Because you're only human after all. In the other time, you should look for the positive things. Right? Work a lot so that you feel like you're doing your part, but not so much that you feel like you have to take over the parts of 1 billion people. We all need to work together on this. And maybe if you're privileged, if you have a nice house, if you make more money than others, if you live in a first world country rather than a third world country, you do have a little bit more responsibility because you do have a bit more opportunities. But again, only a limited amount. If you're doing so much that the rest of your life is awful, you're not helping anybody. You're not going to work that hard. You're not going to give that much. It's just not going to work. And if you are doing enough, then there's no point in looking at the negatives either, because you're already doing what you can. So you might as well enjoy the rest of it. You might as well enjoy the positive things that you're doing. You might as well love what you do. Right? Does that make sense? So, with that being said, it's important that you start noticing some of the positive things that are happening all around you. And this can be anything. And if I take my sticky notes here, for example, someone had to come up with the idea of a sticky note. Someone else had to collect the materials to make the sticky note. Be that the paper or the coloring and the sticky tack, right? Someone had to do that. Then someone had to sell it. Someone maybe had to market it. And someone had to come up with the way to make paper. Someone had to support that person. And if you keep thinking about just that, you realize that there's a lot of lives of people that were happy, that worked, that were miserable, that felt love, that felt joy, that cried. All to get these sticky notes to me here right now and never use the last couple. That's pretty awesome. And in that way, all of those people that helped make these sticky notes helped me and helped the people that I wrote stuff on the sticky notes for, which they probably had no idea about, that they were helping some random life coach with this. But all of our lives are intertwined. They're all intermingled. And there's a lot of great things because of that. The world overall, from where it was just a couple hundred years ago, maybe even just a couple decades, is doing a lot better. We're still not good. Right? There's still a lot of problems and we still have to keep working. And it's not the time to slow down the rest of our laurels. But we're doing better. We do have less starvation overall. Some countries still have the same or very similar starvation levels, but if you take the entire population of the Earth, we are doing better. And you're doing better too. If you took your entire life as a whole, you're probably doing better than before. Sure, maybe not every area. Maybe there's some areas that you've slacked on. But you're doing better. And if when you realize that you're doing better, when you focus on that, what happens is that you start feeling better. And as you start feeling better, you'll want to do more, not less. Right? When you feel awful, all you want to do is lie in bed and sleep. When you feel amazing, you want to go out, you want to meet with friends, you want to do something. Find the positives in whatever it is that you see. Find the positives sitting in your room right now. Find the blues, not the reds. And train your mind to bring those to the forefront. Because as you do, you'll start seeing more and more of them. As you do, you start seeing more and more purples as blues instead of as reds. And as you do that, more opportunities will come your way. How do you do this? By starting to write things down. There's a psychological rule of thumb that we remember negative things 4 times more than we remember positive events. Which means you need to write at least 4 positive things for every 1 negative thing you have. You have to have at least 4 positive thoughts for every 1 negative one. At least. Ideally, even more. Right? Because you want to eliminate those negative thoughts. For now, what I want you to do is I want you to take out a journal, right? Or buy a notebook or just a piece of paper, or maybe open up a document on your computer. And I want you twice a day to write down the bad things that happened and the good things that happened. Write down what made you miserable and what made you happy. And then, once you have written both, I want you to add positive things, or things that could be positive, or ways to think about certain negative things that could be interpreted as positive, to get that 4-to-1 ratio. So, for instance, if you, at the end, you write your list and you have 20 negative things and 10 positive things, and you need to write still 70 more good things that happened to you today. And that's a lot. So I want you to start off with finding 5 negative things and then countering it with at least 20 positive things that happened. Now, at the start, you'll most likely have way more negatives than positives, and it's going to be really hard, which is why we're keeping the limit on the number 5. But as you do this, you'll realize that it'll get a lot easier to see the positives in the world. You'll find beauty where others see none. You find opportunities where others just see misery. And that'll help you in so many walks in life. If you know anything about making money and investing, people say, Bill Gates, all of these investors, I forget all their names right now, but they all say that in times of misery, in times of fear, is where the most money can be made. So when you invest in those moments, that's going really well. Because then you can sell high. You buy low, sell high. And it's the same thing with when your company is doing horribly. That's the best opportunity you have to get a promotion. When your life is going miserably, that's the best time you have to learn. But you have to get out of your way to try. And for that you have to even be aware enough of the fact that there are positives in this world so that you don't get bogged down by all the negatives. 5 negative things, 20 positive things, twice a day. Do this for just 7 days, just 7. And see if that doesn't make a difference in your life. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.